Jeezy said it. Or at least, that's what the streets are saying. One comment went viral online that read, Jeezy would never. He would stand his ground. And the moment those words hit the timeline, right after Gucci Mane was allegedly robbed at gunpoint in a Dallas recording studio, the entire culture paused for a second, because whether Jeezy actually said it or not, whether it came from a fan or the man himself, those words hit differently when you understand the history. When you know what these two Atlanta legends have been through over the past 20 years, that statement isn't just shade. It's a reminder, a callback, a reference to a wound that never fully healed. And today, we're ripping that bandage all the way off. Because this isn't just about Pooh Shiesty allegedly forcing Gucci Mane to sign papers at gunpoint. This isn't just about Big 30 allegedly blocking the studio door while things escalated in Dallas. This is bigger than that. This is about Gucci Mane, the same man who built his reputation on surviving street situations, now being caught off guard by his own artist. And the moment it happened, one name came up everywhere, Jeezy. Because when you connect the dots, the 2005 robbery, the murder case, the diss tracks, the Razoo's battle, and now this, you realize something. This story has been building for 2 decades. And now, it's entered a whole new chapter. So to understand why the internet immediately brought Jeezy's name into the 2026 Dallas situation, we have to go back to where it all started. Early 2000s Atlanta. The trap music era was being born in real time, and 2 men were right at the center of it. Roderick Davis, better known as Gucci Mane, and Jay Jenkins, known to the world as Jeezy. But here's what most people forget. They weren't always enemies. At one point, they were actually cool. Jeezy approached Gucci Mane for a collaboration, and the record they created together was Icy. At the time, Gucci Mane was a rising newcomer, while Jeezy had the bigger buzz, already signed to Def Jam Recordings and preparing to drop his debut album, let's get Thug Motivation 101. Jeezy saw Icy as a major record, something that could lead his project. He treated it like a joint hit, but what happened next changed everything. Jeezy believed there was an understanding, but then Gucci Mane took that same record, Icy, and used it as a lead single for his own debut album, Trap House, released independently through Big Cat Records. And according to Jeezy, he never saw a check, not $1. Think about that. He recorded a song expecting it to help launch his major label debut, but instead, it helped launch someone else's career. In the streets, that's not just business. That's disrespect. That's a violation. Jeezy didn't respond with lawyers. He responded the only way he knew how, through music. On his track, Stay Strapped, he dropped a line that wasn't subtle at all. He allegedly put a bounty on Gucci Mane's chain, offering $10,000 to anyone who could snatch it. Read that again. That's not rap beef, that's a green light. Gucci heard it, and he fired back with a diss track titled Round 1, making it clear this wasn't going to end quickly. At that moment, the foundation was set. The disrespect was mutual. The threats were public. 2 of Atlanta's biggest rising stars had turned a music dispute into something far more dangerous. And unfortunately, it escalated. This is where the story stops being about rap and becomes about real-life consequences. In May 2005, Gucci Mane was at a woman's house when 4 men broke in. According to reports, they weren't there to talk. They came to rob him. Things turned violent. But Gucci didn't fold. He grabbed a firearm and fired. One of the men, Henry Lee Clark III, also known as Pookie Lock, was shot and later died from his injuries. Days later, his body was discovered buried behind a school in DeKalb County, Georgia. And here's what made the situation even more explosive. Pookie Lock wasn't just anyone. He was affiliated with Jeezy's label, Corporate Thugs Entertainment, CTE. Immediately, questions spread across the streets. Was this connected to the earlier threats? Was it retaliation? Did Jeezy have anything to do with it? Gucci Mane turned himself into police on May 19, 2005, just days before his album dropped. He posted bond the same day Trap House was released. From jail, he spoke out, saying he acted in self-defense and expressed remorse for what happened. Jeezy, on the other hand, denied any involvement. He rejected claims that he had anything to do with the robbery or was sending anyone to that house. Eventually, the murder charges against Gucci Mane were dropped due to insufficient evidence, with an eyewitness supporting his self-defense claim. Legally, he walked free, but history doesn't disappear that easily, and both men knew it. That's what made their feud different from almost every other rap beef. It never truly ended. It just went quiet, then flared back up again, over and over, for more than a decade. Gucci Mane faced multiple legal issues over the years, including drug charges, assault, and probation violations. In 2014, he was sentenced on federal firearms charges and remained in prison until 2016. But even while behind bars, the tension didn't fade. It lived on in the music. Every few years, a lyric, a diss, or a reference would bring it all back, reminding the streets that the situation was never fully resolved. Then came 2020, the Verzuz era. Created by Swizz Beatz and Timbaland during the pandemic, it brought legends face-to-face in live music battles. And somehow, they got Gucci Mane and Jeezy in the same room. In Atlanta, live, the culture lost its mind. People genuinely didn't know if Gucci Mane and Jeezy were even going to show up. And even if they did, nobody knew what might happen behind the scenes. These two hadn't shared a peaceful space in years. This wasn't just entertainment. It felt like a high-stakes peace summit that nobody fully trusted. And it showed. Gucci came out swinging. The very first song he played was a brand new diss aimed at Jeezy. He wasn't there to ease into the classics. He came to establish dominance. Then it escalated. At one point, Gucci played The Truth, a diss track where he references Jeezy's late associate, Pooh. He stood there, face-to-face with Jeezy, and played it in front of millions watching live. The tension was undeniable. Jeezy's reaction? He stood up, leaned over, and spoke quietly to his manager. You could feel the energy shift in the room. But instead of matching aggression with aggression, Jeezy tried to de-escalate. He addressed Gucci directly, trying to move things towards some kind of understanding. Gucci responded by saying they agreed to keep it real, and then continued doing things his way. And then something unexpected happened. Later that night, they performed Icy together on stage. The crowd went crazy. People were emotional. For a moment, it felt like history was being rewritten. Like maybe, just maybe, a 20-year feud was finally over. But here's what people forget. A stage moment doesn't erase real-life history. A performance doesn't erase threats, violence, or loss. Two people can share a stage and still carry everything that happened between them. Reconciliation in public and reconciliation in real life are not the same thing. So when Gucci Mane was reportedly robbed in Dallas in January 2026, one name immediately resurfaced. Jeezy, not because there was proof of involvement, but because the history runs that deep. For over 20 years, their story has been embedded in Atlanta's rap culture. So anytime something happens to Gucci Mane, people instinctively go back to 2005. That's not random. That's years of unresolved tension still echoing. Now, let's talk about what really went down in Dallas in 2026. Because the details, they're wild, and you need the full picture. January 10th, 2026. Gucci Mane flies into Dallas, Texas. He's accompanied by his head of security and two other industry associates. The meeting was set up by Pooh Shiesty, one of the artists signed to his 1017 label. At the time, Shiesty had only been out of federal prison for a few months, following his release in October 2025 after serving 3 years on a gun-related charge. Gucci had even welcomed him home publicly, posting about his release and showing support. And that's what makes what allegedly happened next feel like a complete betrayal. The meeting was supposed to be about business. Pooh Shiesty was unhappy with his contract. He wanted out. Normally, situations like this are handled through lawyers, negotiations, settlements, or buyouts. That's the business route. But according to reports, this didn't go that way. Around 3:15 p.m., the studio session was scheduled to begin. 8 additional individuals had reportedly traveled from Memphis to Dallas for this meeting. 8 people. That alone suggests planning. By approximately 3:40 p.m., all of them entered the building and made their way to the control room, where Gucci Mane and his team were casually watching a football game. Sensing something wasn't right, Gucci reportedly suggested rescheduling the session, but Pooh Shiesty asked to speak with him privately in a recording room. Gucci agreed. Inside that room were three people: Pooh Shiesty, his father, Lontrell Williams Sr., and Big 30. That's when everything escalated. According to the story, Pooh Shiesty pulled out contract termination papers and demanded that Gucci Mane sign them. Gucci refused, and in that moment, the situation took a serious turn. Then things allegedly took a serious turn. According to prosecutors, Pooh Shiesty reached into a bag and pulled out a black AK-style pistol, pointing it directly at Gucci Mane, demanding that he sign the contract termination papers. This time, Gucci signed, but it didn't end there. Even after signing, he wasn't allowed to leave. While this was happening inside the recording room, the other suspects outside were allegedly holding the remaining people at gunpoint. One victim had his wallet and jewelry taken. Another was reportedly choked from behind to the point of near unconsciousness. At one point, prosecutors say the victims genuinely feared they were about to be executed. Items taken reportedly included Gucci Mane's wedding ring, watch, earrings, and cash. They even recorded him on video, signing the documents and verbally releasing Pooh Shiesty from the contract. At one point, Shiesty's father allegedly reviewed the paperwork and said it needed a date, forcing Gucci to go back and add one next to the signature. By around 4:48 p.m., the suspects left. The entire incident lasted just over an hour. But here's where everything fell apart. In the hours that followed, several suspects allegedly took to social media, showing off stolen jewelry, Rolex watches, and cash. One individual even went live wearing a chain authorities believe was taken during the incident. They left behind a digital trail so obvious that investigators were essentially handed a case. And the evidence didn't stop there. An ankle monitor reportedly placed Pooh Shiesty at the scene. License plate readers tracked vehicles traveling from Memphis to Dallas. Fingerprints recovered inside the studio tied multiple suspects to the location. As the investigation unfolded, the case quickly became overwhelming. On April 1st, 2026, 8 of the 9 suspects were arrested. The 9th was later taken into custody by federal authorities. All of them are now facing serious federal charges, including kidnapping, each carrying the possibility of life in prison. And as soon as the news broke, the internet connected the dots instantly, not because of anything new involving Jeezy, but because of everything that happened back in 2005. Within minutes, his name was trending again, proof of how deep that history still runs in hip-hop culture. Even 50 Cent weighed in publicly, referencing the long-standing history and bringing up the Pookie Lock incident from 2 decades ago. Because at this point, this isn't just a new story. It's the continuation of a legacy conflict that never fully ended.